thought I knew her. Every smile, every sigh, every careless joke, it all seemed familiar, comfortable. The kind of intimacy that comes from years of shared mornings and late nights. Her name was Leena, and to me, she was the center of my world. I trusted her in ways that bordered on naive. I left my vulnerabilities unguarded, shared my darkest fears, my smallest insecurities, the private corners of my heart that I thought only she could see. I never imagined that the person I loved most would be the one holding the sharpest knife. The first hint came not from her, but from a careless mistake. I was looking for an old document in her study when a folder slipped from the edge of a shelf and fell at my feet. I bent to pick it up, thinking it was just some work papers, until I noticed the contents. The papers weren't work-related. They were personal, intimate, and damning. I didn't want to look, but curiosity mixed with a cold sense of dread made me scan the first few lines. My stomach twisted, my chest tightened. It was proof that she had been living a double life. At first, I refused to believe it. Maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe there was an explanation, some reasonable story I hadn't yet heard. I watched her closely for days, studying her patterns, waiting for a slip that would confirm my fears or disprove them. But every small observation, every text she hid, every sudden phone call she took in another room, only strengthened my suspicion. The truth became undeniable. Leena, the woman I trusted above all else, had been hiding the darkest secret from me. The discovery should have broken me instantly, and part of me wanted to confront her in a burst of rage, to demand the truth and watch her crumble under the weight of her lies. But a different thought took hold. If I reacted immediately, if I showed the raw pain I felt, she would see it as weakness. And weakness, I realized, was exactly what she had been exploiting all along. I needed patience. I needed a plan. For weeks, I observed. I tracked details, not with obsession, but with careful calculation. Who she called, what time she left the house, the subtle shifts in her voice when she lied. I pieced together the life she had hidden from me, and with each fragment I collected, my anger grew not like a sudden flame, but like water slowly carving stone. I cataloged everything in a small notebook I kept hidden, labeling it innocuously as errands, so that if she noticed, it would seem harmless. In the meantime, I rebuilt myself. I returned to the routines I had abandoned for her. Morning runs that cleared my head. Long hours at work that reminded me of my independence. Evenings with friends I had neglected. I became someone she could no longer control with her lies. Someone whose life had grown too full for her duplicity to matter. There is a quiet power in living fully, in reclaiming the parts of yourself that were surrendered to another. When I finally decided it was time to act, it was not with dramatic confrontation or public exposure. I wanted the consequences of her deception to come from the weight of her own actions, not from a performance on my part. I invited her to dinner at home, cooking her favorite meal, setting the table as if nothing were wrong. The familiar domesticity was deliberate. It was the calm before a storm she would never see coming. I placed the notebook on the table, closed but present, and waited. She glanced at it. Curiosity piqued, but the smile never reached her eyes. I opened it, page by page, reciting facts she could not dispute. Dates, times, phone calls, receipts, messages, all carefully recorded. Her confident facade faltered. Her lips parted in a way that tried to mask panic, but her hands betrayed her, trembling slightly as she reached to close the notebook. I can explain, she stammered. I don't need explanations, I said softly, my voice steady. I need honesty. And you've already chosen not to give me that. You've been living one life in front of me and another in secret. You knew what you were doing, and now you see that truth doesn't bend to convenience. Her excuses came tumbling out, phrases rehearsed, pleas for forgiveness, attempts to charm. But the ledger of facts spoke louder than words. Each entry, each proof, reflected the life she thought she could hide. She realized, slowly, that the power she had wielded over me was gone. She had believed that her deception could continue unchecked, that I would remain blind and compliant. But I had turned her lies into evidence, her manipulation into clarity, and her secret into her undoing. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply sat across from her, calm, resolute, and watched her struggle with the realities she had ignored for so long. The silence between us was heavier than any accusation I could have hurled. In that quiet, she understood that her actions had consequences, and those consequences were hers alone to bear. After that night, I withdrew. I moved through my days with purpose, reclaiming spaces she had occupied emotionally and psychologically. She tried to reach out, to charm, to apologize, but I had changed. Her words no longer held sway. Her presence no longer dictated my peace. I had converted my pain into vigilance, my heartbreak into strength, my betrayal into a lesson. Trust is precious, and when it is violated, the only true power is in how you respond. Months later, the house that once felt like shared territory became mine alone. The spaces she had taken for granted, her habit of leaving dishes unwashed, her late-night phone calls, the careless manipulation were now mine to control. I didn't need revenge in the form of ruin. The quiet dismantling of her influence, the reclaiming of my life, was enough. She had learned the hardest lesson. The person you betray is not powerless, and lies always leave a trace. Her secret had been the darkest, but in exposing it, I discovered something equally powerful: the strength of resilience, the clarity of boundaries, and the unexpected satisfaction of reclaiming what was mine. Pain had tried to make me smaller. Instead, it made me sharper, wiser, and more determined. I had loved her, and she had lied, but I had survived, and in survival, I had found my revenge.